Hey, Gene. So what are the headlines so far in your view?
Well, you talked about that revenue growth. I think that's critical because as investors, as an analyst who followed this for many years, that was always the piece that was going to start to decelerate, was that revenue growth. But quickly putting it in perspective, they grew revenue at 14% in 2015, and then it stepped up to 23%, and in the last couple quarters, 25%. So we've had this steady increase in the face of law of large numbers. What that means is investors can rest comfortably knowing that Google is, in fact, the oxygen of the internet. The second big takeaway is around TAC. That has been a needle in investors' side over the past few quarters. As that's been increasing, it moderated. They did say that it could increase in the future, but it did moderate in the reported quarter. And then the third piece to this is what they're doing around what's happening in Europe and the greater regulation. And it didn't come up until the fifth question, but the CEO Sundar basically dodged the analyst and said that he doesn't know how that they're going to navigate. They're working on it, obviously, how to navigate some of these potential changes in the impact to Android. Not a big negative on that last. The comfortable, clear takeaway is this revenue growth story continues firmly intact.
Was that question specifically about the fine related to its Android operating system, or was that regulation in general? Okay, so specifically that fine. When it comes to the GDPR and the impact on, I mean, there was some thinking that the larger platforms would actually see a benefit over the smaller platforms because of GDPR. Did they address that at all? Have they confirmed that they actually have been a beneficiary of that?
No, all he would say is that it was just rolled out recently and said that it remains determined. He did say that it is going to have a significant impact on Google and their partnerships, but obviously the revenue growth in the June quarter would support that things are fine. But really the two big questions about this GDPR or how the European Union is going to weigh in, those were left largely unanswered in the Q&A.
Gene, you look at paid clicks up 58%, which is a staggering number. She was looking for, I think, 49%, and cost per click down 22%. It seems like they dominate. They have Amazon-like in terms of their dominance. Why don't they get a value? I'm not suggesting they get an Amazon valuation, but why don't they get a valuation that I think they deserve?
I think it comes back to this expectation that growth is going to deteriorate, valuations based on what the future growth is. And every quarter that they continue to show that, in fact, they can keep growing, I think that that multiple is going to, in fact, inch up. As you said, the paid click number was impressive. The other piece, I think, improving the valuation is to start to show some lift in the cost per click, how much they're getting paid, which that number has been consistently a little bit below expectations. So I think the combination of continued revenue growth plus a little bit of an uptick in CPC would be a formula for a much higher multiple.
What's your grade on the quarter at this point, Gene?
So far, A-. It was at all-time highs. In order to get to all-time highs, it has to start with an A handle, but reluctant, given the call is still going on, to give it a straight-out A.
All right, Gene, thank you. Get back on that red phone. Gene Munster of Loup Ventures. Tim, what sort of multiple do you think Alphabet should have?
I wish Gene was my professor in college. I got to tell you. I mean,
you think he's inflating the grade?
No, you know what? Because here's what Gene said that I think is the most important. The fact that they're growing their top line, if there's a little margin compression, that's the most important thing for a company that at times, if it was a year and a half ago, people were questioning whether they could do it. I think the impact on network in terms of Google Network, on GDPR, and on the European Union is going to be real, and I don't think it really matters. I think the bottom line is these guys continue to dominate where they spit, and I think they're going to continue to do there.
I think the fine leading into this print, as BK touched on, was the real unknown. And I think that's why you saw the stock pop, because I think people got out of it thinking that you were going to see some sort of verbal addressment of it, or maybe something hidden that people weren't seeing. So I do think you're seeing an overreaction in the pop. Maybe it settles back in. But it is amazing to me that if you would have bought the handful of these names that are responsible for all the profitability that we've seen in the marketplace and just bought them and shut up, you would have a killer portfolio. And I've traded in and out of these names, but I should have held on to the Amazon, to the Google, to the Facebook.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.